So let me just start asking, if you don't mind, a few questions about yourself. I mean, these aren't technical questions. These are just something personal, if that's okay. Um, How'd you get into this? Like, why is hemp something that's important to you?
Well, I was looking for solutions for a lot of the diseases that we are manifesting. Some of the obesity and the diabetes and the neuropathies and the eye problems and kidney disease. And I was looking for a solution. If you follow the guidelines that are currently in practice, they help, but they don't always achieve the return to normalcy and the return to normal function, allowing people to be all of their potential. So in looking for that, I was introduced to cannabidiol as a potential, looked at the literature, saw thousands of articles about it and the potential benefits that were there, had a chance to use it myself, in my family, in my friends and neighbors, and then into patients everywhere, and extend that to an international practice of advising people how to use it for the most broad range of conditions I could ever imagine. You know, I'm actually asking for people with orphan diseases to talk to me because I think that there's a good chance that CBD can correct some of those problems and improve their lives.
You know, so that's kind of interesting because what I heard, like the way my brain works, is I heard that basically you found a new tool to put into your toolbox.
Yes.
And the other thing, you know, this is kind of like when we were little kids, you're finding out, what is this tool useful for? What can we use it for?
Yes.
Right? And the reality is this research hasn't been done, and you're going to execute that research, or you actually are executing that research, and you're saying, look, if you've got an orphan disease, let me give you this food supplement and see, does it help feed your endocannabinoid system? And if it does that help alleviate some of the basically malnourishment to your body?
Well, I talked earlier about the different mechanisms that are available for cannabidiol, counting over 160 different pathways. With those 160 pathways, then it's possible that CBD could connect with some of these diseases which we don't understand why they're being manifest. We have an idea where a problem is, but CBD may provide the patch to help correct or improve their conditions. I've already seen that with a number of conditions. I'm excited to look at more and see if we can make some big changes for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's that's really what we're doing. Let me ask you this: what other new things are you working on right now?
Well, I'm looking at combinations of using cannabidiol with other lifestyle changes, whether that's including the diet, the type of exercise, not only just aerobic exercise, but strengthening type of exercise, and even a mechanism called whole body vibration, which has a real potential for people who have been immobilized and don't have the flexibility or are restricted by some impairment. Using a whole body vibration exercises them as well. And then combine that with meditation and good practices and family relationships. I'm looking at the whole individual and what needs to be there. And also looking at other substances and herbal approaches, because I've found in learning about cannabidiol and experiencing it, I realized that I've overlooked a major area of medicine that has huge potential in natural foods and herbs, about changing people's lives, and using that in combination with cannabidiol could be the key to making some radical improvements in major health issues.
Yeah, I mean, it always kind of amazed me. So we always think about your endocannabinoid system as akin to needing hemp or something like that. But when you look at food and herbs that we've been using for, well, thousands of years, turmeric, ginger, green tea, echinacea, etc., we're seeing that those herbs too are feeding your endocannabinoid system. And a lot of the mechanisms that we attributed to, you know, to reduce inflammation or to help with digestive tract or anything like that couldn't quite be explained. But now that we're seeing, you know, that, well, you know what, turmeric and curcumin helps feed your endocannabinoid system, and maybe that's where that extra action, that extra biochemical mechanism is coming from. I mean, it's really just very exciting that now we can view this whole new system that's only been understood or discovered 20, 30 years ago.
Right, identified in 1992, and that's as soon as it has been. But now we're realizing that a lot of the drugs that we've been using have connections with the endocannabinoid system, or some of the same
What,
mechanisms.
I'm sorry. What kind of drugs?
Well, aspirin and Tylenol, they actually work on some of those processes that are working within the body. And many of the other drugs that we have been connecting, some of the epileptic drugs are working in the same pathways that cannabidiol is. The herbs that are working, the common herbs and basil and black pepper actually have a similar mechanism and pathway that the cannabinoids use in order to affect different changes in the body.
So what we're finding out is that now that in 1992 we discovered this new system in our body that's the master regulatory system. What we're finding out is that hemp was the natural way that we've been dealing with it for thousands of years. When that was taken away, that was a great opportunity maybe for other people to come in and come up with drugs or other ways that could affect that endocannabinoid mechanism in your body. And so it almost seems like, I mean, for lack of a better word, we're kind of using a second-rate version, right? That's something that accidentally deals with your endocannabinoid system instead of purposefully deals with your endocannabinoid system.
No, I don't completely follow.
I guess what I'm saying is that these drugs accidentally
Ah.
deal with endocannabinoid system rather than purposefully like, hey, look, here is hemp. This is the most potent and most natural way we've been dealing with endocannabinoid system, for 5,000 years. And okay, well, instead here's Tylenol, or here's another, here's aspirin or something like that instead.
Right. So I understand exactly what you're saying, and that's a good point that you're making there. In fact, those drugs are associated with major adverse effects. I mean, in terms of the liver toxicity, Tylenol offers, with an overdose, it's incredible. It's a common cause of suicide.
I mean, Tylenol is the #1 overdose drug in the United States. Alcohol is #2. So more people have negative outcomes and deaths from Tylenol than any other drug available over the counter or by prescription in the United States.
But my point is that these drugs have these major adverse effects, and yet we're not seeing those adverse effects when you're talking about cannabidiol or hemp products.
Right.
We're not seeing that from the non-psychoactive cannabinoids.
Right.
And to the point is that drugs that have been developed specifically to work on the endocannabinoid system, there was one that was developed as a dietary agent. And it was associated with and came on the market and FDA approved, but it had to be withdrawn because of toxicity. And then not too long ago, about 2 or 3 years ago in France, a drug was released that was working on the endocannabinoid system, but it too had to be withdrawn after a number of deaths and brain injuries as a result of using it. These artificial substances, when you take some of the mechanisms and you try to incorporate a artificial or synthetic affecting the endocannabinoid system without understanding the whole concept, then you're faced with toxicities and adversities that we don't completely understand. But by and large, in fact, in all cases, what we're seeing with the cannabidiol is a very benevolent response and affecting in a positive way, and rather than having any significant negative consequences using cannabidiol in humans.